Hello and welcome back to my channel. And today we're going to start the chapter Northern India, Age of the Three Empires, 800 to 1000 AD. After the decline of Harsha's empire in the 7th century, a number of large states arose in North India, the Deccan and South India. Unlike the Guptas and Harsha's empire in North India, none of the other kingdoms in North India were able to bring the entire Ganga valley under its control. The Ganga Valley, with its population and other resources, was the basis on which Gupta rulers and Harsha had been able to extend their control over Gujarat, which, with its rich seaports and manufacturers, was important for overseas trade. Malwa and Rajasthan were the essential links between the Ganga Valley and Gujarat. This defined the geographical limits of an empire in North India. In South India, the Cholas were able to bring the Krishna, Godavari, and Kaveri deltas under their control. This was the basis of their supremacy in South India. The large states arose in North India in the Deccan between AD 750 and 1000. These were the Pala Empire, which dominated eastern India till the middle of the 9th century, the Pratihara Empire, which dominated the western India and the upper Gangetic Valley till the middle of the 10th century, and the Rashtrakuta Empire, which dominated the Deccan and also controlled territories in North and South India at various times. Each of these empires, although they fought among themselves, provided stable conditions of life over large areas, extended agriculture, built ponds and canals, and gave patronage to art and letters, including temples. Of the three, the Rashtrakuta Empire lasted the longest. So the three empires which are mentioned over here are the Palas who dominated the eastern India, the Pratiharas who dominated western India and the Gangetic Valley, the Rashtrakuta who dominated the Deccan. So of the three of them, the Rashtrakuta Empire lasted the longest. It was not only the most powerful empire of the time but also acted as a bridge between North and South India in economic as well as cultural matters. The struggle for domination in North India, the Palas. The period following the death of Harsha was a period of political confusion. For some time, Lalitaditya, the ruler of Kashmir, brought the Punjab under his control and even controlled Kannauj, which since the days of Harsha was considered the symbol of sovereignty of North India, a position which Delhi was to acquire later. Control of Kannauj also implied control of the upper Gangetic Valley and its rich resources in trade and agriculture. Lalitaditya even invaded Bengal or Gaur and killed its reigning king, but his power waned with the rise of the Palas and the Gurjara Pratiharas. The Palas and the Pratiharas clashed with each other for the control of the areas extending from Banaras to South Bihar, which again had rich resources and well developed imperial traditions. The Pratiharas also clashed with the Rashtrakutas of the Deccan. The Pala Empire was founded by Gopala, probably in AD 750, when he was elected king by the notable men of the area to end the anarchy prevailing there. Gopala was not born in a high, much less a royal family, his father probably being a soldier. He unified Bengal under his control and even brought Magadha, Bihar, under his control. Gopala was succeeded in AD 770 by his son Dharampal, who ruled till AD 810. His reign was marked by a tripartite struggle between the Palas, the Pratiharas, and the Rashtrakutas for the control of Kannauj and the North India. Kannauj is of utmost importance here because it was considered as a symbol of sovereignty from the time of Harsha, and it was a symbol of sovereignty of North India, a position which Delhi was to acquire in a later time. So we could see a tripartite struggle between the Palas, Pratiharas, and the Rashtrakutas for the control of Kannauj during the reign of Dharampal. The Pratihara ruler advanced upon God, Bengal, and but before a decision could be taken, the Pratihara ruler was defeated by the Rashtrakuta rulers Dhruva, and was forced to seek refuge in the deserts of Rajasthan. Dhruva then returned to the Deccan. This left the field free for Dharampal, who occupied Kannauj and held a grand darbar which was attended by vassal rulers from Punjab, eastern Rajasthan, etc. We are told that the rule of Dharampal extended up to the furthest limit of India in the northwest and perhaps included Malwa and Berar. Apparently, this implied that the rulers of these areas accepted the suzerainty of Dharampal. The triumphal career of Dharampal may be placed between AD 790 and 800. Dharampal could not, however, consolidate his power in North India. The Pratihara power revived under Nagabhatta II. Dharampal fell back but was defeated near Mongir. Bihar and modern eastern Uttar Pradesh remained a bone of contention between the Palas and the Pratiharas. However, Bihar, in addition to Bengal, remained under the control of Palas for most of the time. Failure in north compelled the Pala rulers to turn their energies in other directions. The Devapal, the son of Dharampal, who succeeded to the throne in AD 810 and ruled for 40 years, extended his control over Pragjotishpur in Assam and parts of Odisha. Probably a part of modern Nepal was also brought under Pala suzerainty. Thus, for about 100 years, from the middle of the 8th to the middle of the 9th century, the Pala rulers dominated eastern India. For some time, their control extended up to Varanasi. Their power is attested by an Arab merchant, Suleiman, who visited India in the middle of the 9th century and wrote an account on it. He called the Pala kingdom Ruma or Dharma, short for Dharampal, and says that the Pala ruler was at war with his neighbors, the Pratiharas and the Rashtrakutas, but his troops were more numerous than his adversaries. He tells us that it was customary for the Pala king to be accompanied by a force of 50,000 elephants and that 10,000 or 15,000, 10,000 to 15,000 men in his army were employed in fulling and washing clothes. So that was the extent of his army. Even these figures may be exaggerated. We can assume that the Palas had a large military force at their disposal. But we do not know whether they had a large standing army or whether their forces consisted largely of feudal levies. Information about the Pala is also provided to us by the Tibetan chronicles, although these were written in the 17th century. According to these, the Pala rulers were great patrons of Buddhist learning and religion. The Nalanda University, which had been famous all over the Eastern world, was revived by Dharampal, and 200 villages were set apart for meeting its expenses. He also founded the Vikramshila University, which became second only to the Nalanda in fame. It was located on the top of a hill on the banks of Ganga in Magad amidst pleasant surroundings. The Palas built many viharas in which a large number of Buddhist monks lived. The Pala rulers also had close cultural relations with Tibet. The noted Buddhist scholars Sant Rakshita and Deepankara, called Atisha, were invited to Tibet and they introduced a new form of Buddhism there. As a result, many Tibetan Buddhists flocked to the universities of Nalanda and Vikramshila for study. Although the Pala were supporters of Buddhism, they also extended their patronage to Shaivism and Vaishnavism. They gave grants to large number of Brahmins from North India who flocked to Bengal. The settlements helped in the extension of the cultivation in the area and the transformation of many pastoralists and food gatherers to settle down to cultivation. The growing prosperity of Bengal helped in extending trade and cultural contacts with countries of Southeast Asia, Burma, Malaya, Java, Sumatra, etc. The trade with Southeast Asia was very profitable and added greatly to the prosperity of the Pala Empire and led to the incursion of gold and silver from these countries into Bengal. The powerful Shailendra dynasty which was Buddhist in faith and which ruled over Malaya, Java, Sumatra, and the neighboring islands, sent many embassies to the Pala court and sought permission to build a monastery in Nalanda and requested the Pala ruler Devapal to endow 5 villages for its upkeep. The request was granted and bears testimony to the close relation between the two empires. So the Palas had close relations with the rulers of the Shailendra dynasty, who basically ruled the areas of Malaya, Java, Sumatra, and the neighboring islands. So Pala can also, the nations of Palas can also be traced to the relations with the Tibetans, because it can be seen that some of the prominent Buddhist scholars were sent to Tibet, and because of them introducing a new kind of Buddhism over there, there was an influx of Tibetans coming to Vikramshila University and Nalanda University for studying. The Pratiharas who ruled over Kannauj for a long time are also called Gurjara Pratiharas. Most scholars consider that they originated from the Gurjara, who were pastoralists and fighters like the Jats. The Pratiharas established a series of principalities in eastern and in central and eastern Rajasthan. They clashed with the Rashtrakutas for the control of Malwa and Gujarat, and later for Kannauj, which implied control of the upper Ganga valley. The Pratiharas, who first had their capital at Bhinmal, gained prominence under Nagapatya first, who offered stout resistance to the Arab rulers of Sindh who were trying to encroach on Rajasthan, Gujarat, the Punjab, etc. The Arabs made a big thrust towards Gujarat but were decisively defeated by the Chalukyan ruler of Gujarat in 738. Although small Arab incursions continued, the Arabs ceased to be a threat thereafter. The efforts of the early Pratihara rulers to extend their control over the Upper Ganga Valley and Malwa were defeated by the Rashtrakuta rulers Dhruva and Gopal III. So the efforts of Pratiharas to extend their control over the Upper Gangetic Valley, which was a bone of contention between various dominating powers, and also Malwa, were defeated by Rashtrakuta rulers who were Dhruva and Gopala III. In 790 and again in 806 to 7, the Rashtrakutas defeated the Pratiharas and then withdrew to the Deccan, leaving the field free for the Palas. Perhaps the main interest of the Rashtrakutas was the domination of Malwa and Gujarat. The real founder of the Pratihara Empire and the greatest ruler of the dynasty was Bhoj. We do not know much about the early life of Bhoj or when he ascended the throne. He rebuilt the empire, and by about AD 836 he had recovered Kannauj, which remained the capital of the Pratihara Empire for almost a century. Bhoj tried to extend his sway in the east, but he was defeated and checkmated by the Pala ruler Devapal. So, Bhoj was a contemporary of the Pala ruler Devapal. He then turned towards central India and the Deccan and Gujarat. This led to a revival of the struggle with the Rashtrakutas. In a sanguinary battle on the banks of the Narmada, Bhoj was able to retain his control over considerable parts of Malwa and some parts of Gujarat, but he could progress no further in the Deccan. Hence, he turned his attention to the north again. According to an inscription, his territories extended to the western side of the river Satluj. Arab travelers tell us that the Pratihara rulers had the best cavalry in India. The import of horses from Central Asia and Arabia was an important item of India's trade at that time. Following the death of Devpal and the weakening of the Pal Empire, Bhoj also extended his empire in the east. The name of Bhoj is famous in legends. Perhaps the adventures of Bhoj in the early part of his life, his gradual reconquest of his lost empire, and his final recovery of Kannauj struck the imagination of his contemporaries. Bhoj was a devotee of Vishnu and adopted the title of Adi Varaha, which has been found inscribed in some of his coins. He is sometimes called Mihir Bhoj to distinguish him from Bhoj Parmar of Ujjain, who ruled a little later. So he is called Mihir Bhoj and he assumed the title of Adi Varaha because he was a devotee of Vishnu. Bose probably died in about 885. He was succeeded by his son Mahendrapal. Mahendrapal, who ruled till about 908 to 9, maintained the empire of Bhoj and extended it over Magad and North Bengal. His inscriptions have been found in Kathiawar, East Punjab, and Awadh. Mahendrapal fought a battle with the king of Kashmir but had to yield to him some of the territories in the Punjab won by Bhoj. The Pratiharas thus dominated North India for over 100 years from the early ninth to the middle of the 10th century. Al-Masudi, a native of Baghdad who visited Gujarat in 915 to 16, testifies to the great power and prestige of the Pratihara rulers and the vastness of their empire. He called the Gurjar Pratihara kingdom Al-Guzr Juzr, a corrupt form of Gurjara, and the king Bora, probably a mispronunciation of Adi Varaha, the title used by Bhoj, although Bhoj had died by that time. Al-Masudi says that the empire of Juzr had uh, 1,80,000 villages, cities, and rural areas and was about 2,000 kilometers in length and 2,000 kilometers in breadth. The king's army had four divisions, each consisting of 7 lakh to 9 lakh men. With the army of the north, he fights against the ruler of Multan and other Muslims who aligned themselves with him. The army of the south fought against the Rashtrakutas and that of east against the Palas. He had only 2,000 elephants trained for war, but the best cavalry of any king in the country. The Pratiharas were patrons of learning and literature. The great Sanskrit poet and dramatist Rajashekhar lived at the court of Mahipal, the grandson of Bhoj. The Pratiharas also embellished Kannauj with many fine buildings and temples. During the 8th and 9th century, many Indian scholars went with embassies to the court of Caliph at Baghdad. These scholars introduced Indian sciences, especially mathematics, algebra, and medicine, to the Arab world. We do not know the name of the Indian kings who sent these embassies. The Pratiharas were well known for their hostility to the Arab rulers of Sindh. Despite this, it seems that movement of scholars and goods between India and the West continue even during this period. So we've also seen that there was an import of horses from Central Asia, which was for different purposes. Also there were many instances of overseas trade found between India and the Arab world. Between 915 and 918, the Rashtrkuta king Indra III again attacked Kannauj and devastated the city. This weakened the Pratihara Empire and Gujarat probably passed into the hands of the Rashtrakutas. For Al-Masudi tells us that the Pratihara Empire had no access to the sea, the loss of Gujarat, which was the hub of the overseas trade and the main outlet for North Indian goods to West Asian countries, was another blow to the Pratiharas. Another Rashtrakuta king, Krishna III, invaded North India in about 963 and defeated the Pratihara ruler. This was followed by the rapid dissolution of the Pratihara Empire. So we could see the extent of different empires which were mentioned over here. We see the Rashtrakutas who dominated the Deccan, the Pala rulers who dominated the eastern India, the Pratiharas, Gurja Pratiharas, who were in the western regions and also in some parts of the central India. And we see different rulers in between these areas, which are the Kalchuris, the Paramars, the Cholas. Here is the ruler of Kashmir, which was mentioned in an excerpt about the kingdom of Pratiharas. There is the Ghazni kingdom. There is the Shahi. So we could see the extent of these kingdoms, and there was a continuous clash between the Gurjaras, the Rashtrakutas, and the Palas for extending their control over this Ganga valley. because it was a good and fertile region and was a very good area for agriculture. So this area always remain a bone of contention between the three kingdoms, and all of them had different struggles with it. The Rashtrakutas, while the Palas and the Pratiharas were ruling over North India, the Deccan was being ruled by the Rashtrakutas, a remarkable dynasty which produced a long line of warriors and able administrators. The kingdom was founded by Danti Durga, who set up his capital at Manyakhet or Malkhed near modern Sholapur. The Rashtrakutas soon dominated the entire area of northern Maharashtra. So, the Rajpura dynasty, which basically dominated the Deccan area, was founded by Danti Durga, who set up his capital at Manyakhet or Malkhed near modern Sholapur. The Rashtrakutas soon dominated the entire area of northern Maharashtra. They also engaged with the Pratiharas for the overlordship of Gujarat and Malwa, as we've seen above. Although their raids did not result in the extension of the Rashtrakuta Empire to the Ganga Valley, they brought rich plunder and added to the fame of the Rashtrakutas. The Rashtrakutas also fought constantly against the eastern Chalukyas of Vengi in modern Andhra Pradesh, and in the south against the Pallavas of Kanchi and the Pandyas of Madurai. So they also had their struggles in the southern empire because of the Chalukyas of Vengi, the Pallavas of Kanchi, and the Pandyas of Madurai. Probably the greatest Rashtkota rulers were Govind III and Amogvarsha. After a successful expedition against Nagabhatta of Kannauj, who belonged to the Pratihara Empire, and the annexation of Malwa, Govind III turned to the south. We are told in an inscription that Govind terrified the Kerala, Pandya, and Chola kings and caused the Pallavas to wither. The Ganga of Karnataka, who became dissatisfied through baseness and were bound down with feathers and met with death. So the Gangas of the Karnataka were also uh, like devastated because of Govind III of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. The king of Lanka and his minister, who had been negligent of their own interests, were captured and brought over as prisoners to Halapur. Two statues of the Lord of Lanka were carried to Manyakhet and installed like pillars of victory in front of a Shiva temple. Amogvarsha ruled for 64 years, but by temperament he preferred the pursuit of religion and literature to war. He was himself an author and is credited with writing the first Kannada book on poetics. He was a great builder and is said to have built the capital city Manyakhet so as to excel the city of Indra. Indra is basically a god in Hindu mythology who is said to be the ruler of heaven, and he basically on similar lines Amogvarsha basically built the capital city of Manyakhet so as to excel the city of Indra. There were many rebellions in the far-flung Rashtrakuta Empire under Amogvarsha. These could be barely contained and began afresh after his death. His grandson Indra III, from 915 to 927, he established the empire. After the defeat of Mahipal and the sack of Kannauj in 915, Indra III was the most powerful ruler of his times. According to Al-Masudi, who visited India at that time, the Rashtrakuta king Malhara or Vallabha Raja was the greatest king of India, and most of the Indian rulers accepted his suzerainty and respected his advice. He possessed large armies and innumerable elephants. Krishna III was the last in the line of the brilliant. rulers. He was engaged in a struggle against the Parmaras of Malwa and the eastern Chalukyas of Vengi. He also launched a campaign against the Chola ruler of Tanjore, who had supplanted the Pallavas of Kanchi. Krishna III defeated the Chola king Parantapa first and annexed the northern part of the Chola Empire. He then pressed down to Rameshwaram and set up a pillar of victory there and built a temple. After his death, all his opponents united against him, his successor. So he had many opponents. Krishna III of the Rajputta was the last line of the brilliant rulers of this dynasty, and he had many rivals against him, which were the Chalukyas of Vengi, the Parmars of Malwa, the Pallavas of Kanchi, the Chola kings. So all of them basically combined together all of their forces and attacked his successor after his death. The Rashtrakuta Empire, the Rashtrakuta capital Malkhed was sacked and burnt in 972. This marked the end of the Rashtrakuta Empire. The Rashtrakuta rule in the Deccan thus lasted for almost 200 years till the end of the 10th century. The Rashtrakuta rulers were tolerant in their religious views and patronized not only Shaivism and Vaishnavism but Jainism as well. The famous rock cut temple of Shiva at Ellora was built by one of the Rashtrakuta kings, Krishna I, in the 9th century. So the rock cut temple of Shiva at Ellora, which are very famous, was built by the Rashtrakuta king Krishna I in the 9th century. His successor Amoghavasha is said to have been a Jain, but we also patronized other faiths. The Rajputas allowed Muslim traders to settle and permitted Islam to be preached in their dominions. We are told that the Muslims had their own headmen and had large mosques for their daily prayers in many of the coastal towns in the Rashtrakuta Empire. This tolerant policy helped to promote foreign trade, which enriched the Rashtrakutas. The Rashtrakuta kings were great patrons of art and letters. In their courts, we find not only Sanskrit scholars but also poets and others who wrote in Prakrit and in the Upper Brahmacya, the so-called corrupt languages, which were the forerunners of the various modern Indian languages. The great Upper Brahmacya poet Swayambhu and his son probably lived at the Rashtrakuta court. So this is a massive chapter and we will have a continuation video. I hope you liked it. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, see ya. Bye.